Hello, this is Jon Miller, the creator of The Rest of Everest. I think I can safely say that this show is, without a doubt, the most in-depth look into the entire experience of what it takes to climb Everest, as well as some other peaks throughout the Himalayas. But all of the events in this series are shown in chronological order, so if you're new to the show, please go all the way back to episode 000 and watch everything in order. That's truly the best way to enjoy it. Thanks.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience.
Episode 102, Sweet Dreams.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest. I'm Jon Miller. Very happy to be joined with both Ben Clark and Josh Butson. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing awesome, John.
This week's episode is going to be, I think it's actually pretty cool. We get a lot more into something that I'm really excited about showing everyone, and that's dreams at altitude. And I've read a lot of mountaineering books. I've talked to a lot of different alpinists, and everyone talks about some really funky dreams at altitude. But I don't think we've gotten anything on tape before in my entire association with Ben Clark, which is going back. Wow, it's almost coming up on 6 years, or actually 7 years. It's almost 7 years. So this is pretty cool, and we get to hear from each of the guys. And Josh, you had some pretty funky dreams. Definitely, but I think of both you and Ben. I think Tim actually had the weirdest ones. So
yeah, totally.
Hey, let's get up to base camp right now, and let's start with Tim. And hold on to your seats, people, because Tim has a very weird dream. And I have to say, I didn't know he was talking about a dream when I first started editing this episode. So I'm putting that out there first. It's just a dream. So here we go.
Hometown in Lake Forest, and I've just taken a shower. We've just gotten back from the Himalayas. A really long hot shower, and I get out of the shower and I'm looking in the mirror, and my hair is really long and almost like dreadlocks, and in the strands of hair are like these little crickets and bugs that are not awake yet, almost like they're in the larva stage or something.
Jesus.
And so I come out of the bathroom and I'm yelling for my mother. I'm like, hey, you gotta help me with these bugs. I got these bugs in my hair. And she's freaking out, and I ask her to get a pair of scissors. And then I look down, and in my skin I have these raised welts. And underneath the welts you can see little bugs moving inside of the welts. And then I'm freaking out, and I'm like, and I go outside onto the balcony of our house, and my dad has done some remodeling or something, and I go like this, and the whole balcony starts moving, and I'm like, Dad, you didn't brace the balcony properly. He's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm freaking out about all the bugs on my skin. And then I woke up and changed my long johns.
It's just a dream. Just a dream.
High altitude, vivid dreams.
What about you, Josh? You have any altitude vivid dreams?
I did last night. I just can't remember all of it. The part that I remember before I woke up was I was in a public restroom trying to have a conversation with somebody. And I don't know what the conversation was about, but it was supposed to be like this serious talk. And the door didn't lock, so I'm holding the door closed. And this person just starts like trying to push the door open. And I'm like, it's occupied, somebody's in here. I keep on pushing the door, and I'm like having a hard time bracing it. I got my whole shoulder into it. And I'm just getting so frustrated because I'm trying to have this serious conversation with this person, of which I don't remember who that person is at this point, and why I'm having this conversation in a public restroom of all places. I think it was like a gas station.
Sure wasn't like a bathhouse in LA or something?
No. It was I remember going into what looked like a convenience store and following this person to the bathroom, and we're talking, and this person just keeps on insisting we're trying to get in this restroom. And I wake up from my dream as I'm opening the door and just rushing the person and piling him over. Very violent dream. I don't know what led to that, why it was such a serious conversation that I need to have at that second, And for all I know, I woke up, and for all I know, the person could have been deaf and not knowing that there was somebody in there yelling the whole time, saying somebody was in there.
I think that's when I heard you, because you were
Probably it was the bull coming out of the stables or something. I don't know.
Could be symbolic of the long lines at the poop tent we have up here at base camp.
Long lines.
People trying to get into the poop
Could
tent.
be.
How about you, Ben?
Oh yeah, we'll turn the camera around. I'll tell you guys about my vivid dream last night. It's pretty intense. So my dream last night, I keep having this recurring dream every time I come on an expedition, and I understand this is like my 18th expedition. I've had this dream since I was 19, the first time I went to Bolivia, and it's so bizarre because I'll get to the country where I'm trying to get to. I'll usually arrive at like a camp, like somewhere deep inside of the mountains, right? And I'll get there, I'll be sleeping, everything's cool, I'm laying down, all good, and then suddenly, boom, I'm in like an airport, like Tokyo or Hong Kong or somewhere else. I'm clean, you know, I've had a shower, and for some reason I'm flying back to the States, and it's like I'm totally out of control. I'm just, no matter what I do, I'm like looking around at people, I'm like, I don't want to go back to America, I don't want to go back to, I want to climb the mountain. And they're all like, yeah, Ben, it's cool, you know, we'll go back to America, it's good. And then I get all the way back to America usually, and I'm like, oh my god, and I start looking at my watch, and I'm like, it's okay, it's May 3rd, I can get back, but then it's going to take 6 days to hike back here, and it's going to take another 5 days to acclimatize, and I think we can do it. But last night was really bizarre because I had this dream, and I show back up at some airport randomly somewhere where there are palm trees, and the baggage claim department is actually outdoors. so people are like herding through this big like circular stainless steel bar systems, like basically herding cattle through this thing or something, pushing their duffel bags to the center and then going nowhere. So this I'm actually, for some reason, I'm not on this expedition with Tim and Josh. I'm on this expedition with the real estate agent from Telluride, and he's like all like, you know, decked out in his polo and everything, and he's like, yeah, it's so good to be back home, you know. I'm glad to get a latte and hang out and everything. And I'm like, yeah, it's great to be home. And then I see Josh, and I'm like, Josh, you've got to help me. You've got to help me. We're going to buy a plane ticket right now. I know we can fly right back to Nepal. I know we can hop a jet to Humde, and I know we can climb this mountain. I know we can do it. And, you know, it's just this recurring dream I have every single expedition. It's like, for some reason, there's some sort of psychosis or neurotic stigma, or some sort of a symbolic signifier that has to happen in my brain for me to recognize that I'm even here. And I have to, like, I wake up and I'm like, oh god, okay, good, now I'm here, I get to climb the mountain, I'm psyched, I'm happy. The worst part of it is I had a milder form of this dream the night before. And so I don't think I've ever had two consecutive nights of dreaming that I'm leaving where I'm at and then waking up and being so happy just to be here. It's really bizarre. And that's what we find every time we come to high altitude like this, is it's always these crazy, vivid, just wild, you know, maybe our brains are starved with oxygen, or we're hungry, or we're, you know, it's the freaking eggs we eat every morning. I don't know what it is, but every single trip it seems like I always have this recurring dream and this mechanism that, you know, I'm not there, and then I wake up and I am there, and I'm ready to go.
Who needs TV when you have nocturnal insanity?
Oh man.
The lesson to be learned from that is, if Josh Butson is sleepwalking at altitude, don't wake him. He might kill you.
I move in my sleep, I talk in my sleep, but I hardly ever remember any of my dreams. I think it's because I'm too awake or something, I don't know.
Well, moving on, this is something that I'm glad that, Ben, that you filmed all of this whole explosion of gear here, because so many people have been they've been emailing me, you know, wondering what does it actually take to mount one of these expeditions. So, like, what is all this gear and this junk we're looking at here?
These are our ropes, our stoves, our ice screws, some slings, carabiners. Looks like some ski boots back there, food, and the one pack that carries all of it. But yeah, you primarily are going to need some stuff. Like, there's some old school saber-tooth crampons, ice tools. You need enough to be able to pull off a technical ice climb, and you need everything to fit in about a 65-liter pack tops, because you're going pretty high and you need a really warm, like a negative 20-degree sleeping bag, stuff like that. And some over boots. You need insulated pants just in case you have an issue up high. There's some boot gloves to the right of the backpack there, putting on a boot. But you got to fit it all in that one pack, and that's kind of the secret, making sure you can do that.
This is actually... Yeah, go ahead, Josh. Sorry, you were going to say the same thing.
Yeah, this is important thing on expeditions period, is just making sure everybody's as sanitary as possible. Constantly washing your hands, let it be water that we actually had here with that beautiful blue jug. There is a purpose to it on a trip. Or just using hand sanitizer. Big one's just trying to stay as clean as possible, because one person gets sick, you're in such tight quarters that the whole rest of the group, possibly even including the cook staff, will get sick.
Yeah, sanitation is key. Little avalanche.
I think this is the first time we see an avalanche on tape, and was that happening frequently? Was this almost a daily occurrence or weekly?
It's pretty typical.
At least every other day, because we were getting those new snowstorm events. So, just didn't want to stay on the side of the slope. Kept on avalanching down, get a little powder cloud. So actually zooming up to the upper portion of before the ridge, you actually get to actually see some folks up there.
The Austrians.
Yeah, those 3 dots you see on the upper left. It's amazing for all you talk about the Austrians. We don't see them very much.
No, that was the point.
Yes, it was.
This place is pretty interesting. It's really alive here. The longer that we sit here, we've been waiting around here in base camp for a bit, just kind of hoping that things shore up a little bit. It was really beautiful on the approach into here. Had great weather pretty much every day, and that's cleared out. Now we're in sort of a less stable pattern. It's dropped some snow, feeding the mountain a little fuel for keeping itself clean and doing what it does. But one of the cool things about being here in this base camp, we're hanging out at 15,600 feet, and it's pretty high and whatnot. It's not the highest I've slept for a long time, but it's nice because every morning we see snow on the ground, but then every single afternoon it's melted off, and today, in fact, it was really steamy everywhere. Looked out the ground and you saw this steam rising above it, and then you hear these avalanches thundering down, and then we would look across the valley and you'd see these ridge lines just with these amazing clouds kind of scooping like a giant wave folding over them. And there's always some sort of dynamic sense of nature here. It's pretty puzzling sometimes, because you want to climb it, you're here for that, you want to live it, breathe it, taste it, throw yourself into the fire for it. But at the same time, it's like it's very alive, you're very alive, and together you're living, but it's your presence is not really that big an impact on it, and that we're just kind of here to hopefully sneak up this thing in a decent style, do our best, and see if we can get out of here having had a great time, survived it, been safe, and just when the weather comes, go for it. One of the interesting things I think about climbing is often there's always sort of the limbing factor, and there's another team in base camp, and they're not really communicating much with us, which is cool. They whatever. We're all here for the same reason, but we're not really, I guess we're not interesting enough for them. And so watching what they're doing is interesting, because they are going to head up on the mountain tomorrow. They're going to try and go from right here at 15,600 to nearly 18,500 feet, I think, which is ambitious. It's good, it's doable. I think I would do it. But the weather pattern doesn't really look so good to me, and intuitively Josh and I have spoken to Tim, and really feel like the mountain's ready for that yet, and we gotta really wait for the jet stream to move through, because most storms here are signified with the end of a pretty long and large sort of huge winds coming through here, and that's not really happening. And I don't think that, I mean, we've got time to do what we need to do, and we're going to do what we can with the time we've got. I know we can make the top of the mountain if we get ourselves in position. And that's kind of what it's about, is it's like, rather than just kind of follow the herds, and as always, I think we're all kind of people that like to do our own thing and like to do what we think it seems most logical based on our experience in the mountains. That tends to be a lot safer. Trusting your gut, thinking intuitively, well, do I want to run up there and put myself in position if I think that maybe Wednesday might be one good day of weather? Not really. I want to put myself in position to where I've seen the winds blow and I say, okay, now I go, and when it turns, I know my way back down, and I'll just walk off the thing with my buddies, and we'll come down here, wait, see what happens, and then we'll go back up. That kind of logic helps you to live a lot longer and helps you to be a lot happier in the mountains, because you recognize you get your chances, but you have to wait for them. I mean, there's always great opportunities presenting themselves, I think, in our lives and in all the things we do, but the big thing is recognizing which ones are good and which ones are bad, and being connected enough to the environment here to say, well, let's go when we feel right, and when the mountain looks good, and when the avalanches have happened. There's been a lot of snow up there, a lot of snow. And running up there in the middle of the night doesn't really cater to our safety so much. Might work for someone else, but you know what? We've been on a lot of places. And it doesn't matter how far you go, it doesn't matter how little time you have left. Bottom line is, when you go for it 100% wholeheartedly committed. Don't go for it because you're thinking you've already got to get out of here at some point. You got to go for it because you're thinking you got to get up there and you got to get back. Everything after that is what happens. But if you focus too much on the future, then you completely avoid the present. And the present, my friends, that's where we have to live. That is exactly where we have to live in order to make this lifestyle and these kinds of things work. That's why adventure is our lifestyle. That's why it's our passion. Because we're right there in it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I like Tim. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just it's well put. It's one of the things that I like about showing all of this stuff is that, you can think that the idea of climbing up a mountain and doing like a first ski descent is really pushing the envelope, and in many ways it is. But I just have to tell you guys, I have such respect for the way that you guys go about tackling these expeditions. You always put safety first, and I always appreciate showing that to the audience.
Yeah, well, with this next trip, we were just gonna throw all that shit out of the window, because it didn't work last time.
So you're gonna go for the summit at all costs.
Yeah.
I told Ben what we're saying is we're going to show up, and whatever happens happens. But the mountain's always going to be there. There's always another day.
Yep.
I can't take that quote from and say that it's mine. People say that all the time, and it's true. The mountains are always there. There's always more time.
Well, there will be more time next week, because we're going to go to episode 103, and we're actually going to go back up the mountain. Life will begin to function outside of base camp. I know you guys were there for a while, and we're going to be starting a series of episodes when we do get up onto at least up to Camp 1. Nice. There's some drama that does go down. Next expedition, this 2009 expedition might be, just a little bit crazy, but certainly things at Annapurna 4 last year, there was a lot of decisions being made and a lot of good decisions for everyone, and it's just really, really excited to see what happens when, a member of the team decides that maybe it's not worth going up for them, and just how that affects everyone else.
That's a few episodes down the road too. I actually previewed that and was like, wow, that folks, I think is probably the most interesting and moving content I've ever shot. I was pretty blown away. I was just sitting there looking at some of the interviews we had and was just like, wow, this is very real.
Who's gonna get kicked off of the real world Annapurna 4? We'll see. But
Stay tuned.
That's gonna be episode 105. So it'll be a couple weeks away, but well worth watching. So thanks so much, guys. Josh, I want to remember to tell everyone that they want to catch up with you a little bit more and what you do at TellYourRideAdventures.com.
That is correct.
I've been
Plural with an S stand.
Meaning to say that every episode, and Ben and a lot of his content, including just a lot of stuff very similar to what you saw with the Ophir to Telluride bonus episode, can be found at telluride.plumtv.com.
It's actually changed. It's now plumtv.com/Telluride. It's moved a bunch. We have a new web rollout. It's going to be pretty sweet, but just look up plumtv.com and hit the Telluride button. That's the easiest way to find it.
And you can always check the show notes with every episode of the podcast, because I always put the most current information that I have in the show notes. So thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Cool,
Thanks, John. Have a good night.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you guys next week. Bye. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every day, and watching the show has become a part of many people's weekly routine. The show will always be free to download, but it's by no means free to produce. Please help me cover my costs by making a small monthly or one-time donation from the right sidebar on my website, and in return I'll give you some cool bonus materials. A donation of any amount will grant you access to some interesting video content, including high-definition versions of several podcast episodes. A one-time donation of $25 or more, or any of the monthly donation options, will additionally grant you access to a downloadable version of the film Everest the Other Side, which episodes 1 to 61 are based on. I really cannot express how vital these donations are, and if you've made a donation, thank you so much. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywoo.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.